Hello, everybody. Welcome to those of you who hang out in the channel. Some of you might have found this video without being in my channel, but my name is Dr. Steve Yano. I'm a rhetoric professor here in New York. And after last week's presidential debate debacle, I thought I would make a video to help everyone try to make sense of upcoming debates. And this video is about the upcoming vice presidential debates and how to prepare for them. It's probably not a surprise and probably not something that's out of line to suggest that you've probably thought the presidential debates are not very good. They aren't very good. They don't really conform to any of the scholarly or rules that rhetors and people who study language and argument would say a debate should have. They're very absent of all that. But this video is not just going to slam the presidential debates or the vice presidential debates, but more as a tool to help you make something out of them, to make lemonade out of lemon words, lemonade rhetoric out of lemon statements. That's the goal of this video. So for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to try to explain to you how to look at the presidential debates in a way to make them more useful. First, one thing does have to be said in terms of criticism. Debate is not meant to be approached with an idea already in mind. These debates are designed by the two parties to reinforce the feelings you already have. It's not to explore new ideas, and it's not to question your old ones. What happens in a debate is you watch it, and it's designed to be watched in a way that you will be like, oh yeah, that's why I like them. That's why I like her. That's why I like him. It's designed to confirm the things you already think are true. In debates that are structured properly, this doesn't happen. Everyone walks away with some doubt. Everyone walks away with questions that have to be explored. Everyone gets some fuzz in the perfect high-resolution picture that they had about politics or their candidate. So you have to keep that in mind, is that these are designed for you not to think, but to react. They're designed for you to get more excited about the candidate you've already decided you like. But during the course of these debates, which are about God knows how many topics that, if it was up to the journalists, they'd probably go through 10 in 90 minutes, which is ridiculous. What can we do with this to make it a productive and valuable thing? What can we do? So I've written about this. I've published this work in C-SPAN Year in Politics and Review, or you can find it on academia.edu. And maybe I'll even link something in the comments down below so you can read my paper on it. But I think I have found a way to make the debates a little bit more useful for everyday people to get something good out of them. And I have developed the following rubric, which I will share with you now, of a way to look at the debates and maybe even find a way to talk about them with people. So in a democracy, the most important thing is being able to talk to other people about your political views. Now, if you wanted to shut down a democracy, I'm just speculating here. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm trying to stay nonpartisan in this video. But if you did want to shut down democracy, what would be a good way to do it? Well, if we look historically, we can see that when countries invade other countries, they take over the schools, the television, the radio, the broadcasting first. I think that's pretty much true in contemporary warfare. If you wanted to do it from the inside, one of the things you might want to do to destabilize a democracy is make people unwilling or unable to share ideas and debate and have conversation to raise sort of the level of questioning about what they might really want from their government. And I think, I'm American. I live in the United States. I think the U.S. is suffering from that right now quite a bit. And we all blame the other side. We say, well, people are idiots. People who are Republicans are idiots. People who are Democrats are idiots. They're naive. Republicans are heartless. This is the kind of thing you hear. So there's a lot of dehumanization going on. So that's the first thing. But you might live in another country and you might be able to say, well, this is happening in my country too. There's not a lot of space for political conversation. A big part of that is social media. Social media really interrupts the ability of us to have thoughtful, exploratory conversations about the political. So we have a lot of factors. It might not be anybody's fault. It might just be our addiction to social media. It might be part of it. So my job in creating this, I created this rubric because I was concerned that there wasn't really a way to make these giant, globally viewed events useful in some rhetorical way to the people watching them. How can you turn this into a useful thing? So let's talk about this. When you're watching the debate, what I want you to do is, instead of cheering for your person, instead of that, what I want you to do is watch and think and say, who resonates? Who resonates with me in these 4 different categories? And you're probably going to find that both candidates resonate with you a little bit, if you're honest. Because even though you might vilify the other side, they still have to appeal to other human beings. Don't forget, your political opposition, they're human beings, and they think like you do at a very base kind of level. A lot of people out there are kind of scoffing at me right now, but they really do kind of think in this kind of human way. So what do I mean by these things? Well, the first thing I want you to look for when you're looking at this is I want you to look for framework. And framework is defined as anything. Ooh, can you guys see that? See, I'm such a teacher. It's like, oh, can you guys see that? Is that big enough for you? Can you see the board, kids? I am a professor, so it comes out sometimes. I hope I'm not being too... Okay, that's better. I think that's pretty good. Anything describing the nature of reality of the world. So what this sounds like is like... families are having trouble paying their bills. Stuff like this that candidates will say in a debate. And what they're trying to do is set the framework, or maybe we could even call it grounding, for the reality that we share. One of the things that's really good in rhetoric or persuasion argument is to find shared points of invested interest with your audience. And candidates are no exception. They'll try to do this in the debate by saying, I live in the same world you do. I don't live in some weird fantasy world. I live in the same world you do. So they're going to try to do this. The question that you asked for framework statements, now you should take notes during the debate. And I know I told you just a minute ago I'm a professor and the professorness comes out, but taking notes in a debate is a great way to kind of remember what you liked and what you didn't. And then you can use that to kind of type on social media or talk to your friends about what you liked or what you didn't about the debate, or what you like about particular candidates or what you didn't. And after you use this, it should be kind of more of a mixed bag, I think. Is this your experience? Is this your world or your family's? Is this something you could see people experiencing? Is this a perspective that you can see being realistic, or is it your own perspective? That's what we're looking for in framework. And people who aren't talking about a shared frame of reality are probably less worth listening to than people who are accessing that very directly. So that's one way to do it in terms of a framework. That's the first thing I'll have you look for. The next thing I'll have you look for is principle. And principle, oh, come on. Principle is maybe we shouldn't put it as a question. We should put it like, principle is when candidates say things like, here are my core values. Here's what I won't compromise. So these are the things that they would rely on. Principles are the things that we rely on deep in our core when we're making difficult decisions or we're trying to solve a problem or addressing something. So this might sound like something like, I will never, whoops, that's like way too, I think I hit caps lock. Okay. I will never put our soldiers in harm's way unnecessarily. Okay. Something like that. Or you might hear candidates say, a woman's right to choose will never be compromised, which is, coded language for the abortion debate. These are the kinds of things your candidates say that are principles. The questions here are, they kind of build, right? So are these principles I hold or can understand as good? Like, for example, the candidates probably won't have the same principles you do, but maybe you can understand them as good or of the good. Then you go to the next level, which is, are these my community's principles? Because you probably are a member of a community that you like and you have friends in and you share things with, but maybe the community has principles that you kind of edit a bit. I'm thinking particularly about Christians here, although it could be any kind of group where you go to a church because you like the church, but then you have your own kind of edited view of some of the principles that the church might hold. You're like, yeah, I really like this or like this. I wish this was different. But I think any organization is like that. I'm just thinking about Christian churches for my example. But it could be a number of your maybe you're in the some political organization, or you're in another club like that. Might be, are these my community's principles? That's another way to see, well, does this align with things I'm interested in? Even though it might not be my particular principles, it's aligned with things that I value. And then the other one is, are these principles appropriate for the country? So that gives you 3 levels to discuss a candidate's principles with other people, as long as you're paying attention to it this way and not looking for what the media wants you to look for, facts and policy suggestions. Is that policy something that could pass or would work? And did they have all the facts? That's what all the journalists are going to say in these debates, and that's useless. That doesn't help you generate things to say except yes, no, yes, no. Like binaries. The media wants you in binaries because then you'll watch more MSNBC, you'll watch more Fox, you'll watch more CNN. That's the worst thing you can do for thinking and generating your own political position here, which is what I think the debates could be, at least kind of a sourdough starter for your own kind of political views. That's kind of a bad metaphor, but I like it. I like sourdough. That's why I chose that. So, but you can think of your own metaphor. It could be like a seed or something like that. Okay, vision. What's vision? Vision is plans, goals, anything the candidate would like to do if elected. So what does this sound like? When I'm president, or in the case of the vice presidential debate, when Biden or Trump are president, we will support X. And that could be a policy of like low taxation. It could be a policy of, it doesn't really even have to be a policy. It could be, I will support any laws that relieve the burden on working families, or I'll support any laws that provide single moms extra free childcare or something like that. You never know what they might talk about in these things. So that's what vision sounds like. So for vision, the question you want to ask yourself are these plans that I think are good? Do they seem like things the government should be doing? Are they the things I wish I could do in your own community or something like that? So this helps you kind of see it. Are these like realistic, or could you see, oh, here's another good one for vision too. Are these plans or policies needed? So even though you might not use the program, for example, I don't have any children, so public schools, I don't really make use of in a direct way. But if I broaden my vision out a bit more away from self-interest, I can say, well, having the public school is very valuable to me because it means that I'm around educated people who have a shared literature base, a shared knowledge of mathematics and science, a shared knowledge of how to communicate, or a shared knowledge of the basic things you learn in high school. And having an educated populace is a good thing. So we could say that, but then we could disagree and say, well, those policies don't really work, and here's how I know that. I have this information or that information. But it will help you refine kind of like why you don't like a candidate, instead of along a lot of different issues, rather than just, well, I like them because they seem presidential, or I like them because they're tough, or they're a businessman, or they're a career politician. It's not good enough. I think in a democracy, we need much more robust and complex kind of sensibility in terms of why we would support the person we're supporting. All right, last one. Action. Now, this is the one that usually they get cut off by the moderator on, because this is usually what they get to last. But this is anytime they talk about a record of actions, service, or even a policy that they enacted or supported. So sometimes you're dealing with candidates who have never been in office before, and they look to other things to show, look, I have done similar things and I've gotten it done and it worked. That's what this discourse sounds like. So whenever candidates are talking about things they've done in the past, this is meant to prove, action is meant to prove that they can get the vision done. So action is usually, and I'll put this down, usually a perfect combination of principle and vision. Okay? So that's what they're looking to do, but normally this would be things like, as a U.S. Marine, I led my unit in this and that work that achieved this. Or, as an Army veteran, I understand how important the military is to the U.S. and how tough it is to be in a military family, right? So they have needs, right? But it also could be like, as a business leader, I have seen what works and what doesn't, which is why, as CEO of whatever company you want, I established this policy X, right? And then that would somehow like be analogous or comparable to something they would want to do as president or as vice president. So at the end of the night, if you have like your piece of paper and you've kind of divided it up by framework, principle, vision, action, or even your computer, you can sit there with your laptop and kind of type these things up. See what you get for each candidate. I recommend having your laptop or your tablet or your phone and kind of add some of these things into I use Google Drive, Google Docs, which I think is great. But anything you want, kind of type up what phrases they said or write down what phrases they said that meet with these. And then from there, you should be able to construct some pretty good arguments to justify why you like one candidate over another one. But again, I wouldn't try to use it for that. What I would do instead is I would try to use it in a way to try to figure out what it is about each candidate you like or not. Because the value of these debates for the two parties is to get you to side with one of the parties or not. These two candidates don't represent the best political ideas out there. In a democracy, the people are the source of the best political ideas out there. The people are the ones who come up with the best policy and can decide what they want if they think about it. It's weird that the parties tell us what the issues are. Why aren't they scared of us? Why aren't they waiting for us to tell them what the issues are? The journalists and the politicians shouldn't control that. We should control that. The people should control that. Remember, democracy, so we're demos in it, which means people. People first. So I hope you try to use this rubric. Let me see if I can zoom back out on it again. And see if this, I'd be love to hear in the comments if you think that this is useful, or if you got anything out of it, or if it helped you kind of formulate your responses in the big social media debates I'm sure you're going to have about the vice presidential debate or other debates. And see what you think. I think that I'll be looking to see what these elements do or how these elements function in that debate. And leave a comment below if you have any questions or if you are interested in sharing your thoughts about it, or you want to share your results after the debate happens. I'd be curious what you come up with. You can always find me on social media, Twitter, Steviano, Instagram. It's just my name, or my blog at steviano.com. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos about rhetoric, debate, argumentation, and thinking about how our words make and unmake and iterate and reiterate the world around us.